Hi, and welcome to the second session of our Help Us to Say Yes webinar. In this session, we're going to cover claims of more than 3 hours of unused preparation. So a little bit of background as to how the assessments will be made. Any claim that is between 3 and 10 hours will undergo a relatively light touch assessment by the graduated fee team. Any claim that is between 10 and 30 hours will undergo a more in-depth assessment, again by the graduated fee team. And then any claim for 30 hours or more will undergo a more in-depth assessment by the criminal cases unit. For any claim of 3 hours or more, it's mandatory that you complete an LU1 form. If you bear with me a moment, I will share the LU1 form with you. So not that. Okay, so this is the LU1 form. You can search this online just by searching LU1 form. In section 1, you need to provide us with some of the case details. So you need to tell us your provider number and the MAT number that is related to this case. Underneath section 1, there is a question, a box where you need to tick just to confirm that you haven't claimed for remuneration of the work you're undertaking as unused preparation anywhere else. In section 2, you need to provide us with the fee earner details. So there's a table in the left-hand column. You need to provide the name of the fee earner. If the fee earner is a qualified solicitor who appears on the Law Society website or is a fellow of the SILEX, I'd really recommend that you put their name as they appear on those websites. This is just to help us in verifying their grade. In the middle column, there is a drop-down box and you can select the grade and the location of your fee earner. So in this example, we've got a grade B fee earner who's based in London. And underneath, we've got a grade C fee earner who is also based in London. In the final column, there is a section for you to give us a little bit of background detail about the fee earners. So if you're claiming for a grade A or grade B, you need to give us a bit of detail as to how they meet the requirements to be a grade A or grade B. And you also need to give us a bit of detail as to why the grade A or the grade B fee earner is undertaking this preparation. Now, a common question we get in relation to fee earners is how do you verify the grades or who meets the particular grades? So a grade A fee earner is considered to be a qualified solicitor with at least 8 years PQE. A grade B fee earner is considered to be a qualified solicitor or fellow of SILEX, or it's a criminal defence caseworker with at least 10 years experience of criminal defence casework. It has to be criminal defence casework. It can't include experience of working for either prosecuting authorities such as the CPS, or working for, say, the court service or the prison service. It has to be criminal defence casework. A grade C would be a junior fee earner, so someone who is essentially not a grade A or grade B. In section 3, we ask you a little bit of detail about your claim. So the first line is in relation to the documentary material that you've considered. This includes unused statements, unused exhibits, documentary exhibits, unused roties. In the first column, you need to enter the number of pages of material that you've considered. In this example, it's 300. You need to tell us the amount of time that you've spent. So in this example, it's 4 hours. And in this example, it's the grade B who's undertaken this work. You'll see that there's a line above and below. The line above is for grade A fee earner, and if you just need to select that and their location, or if it's the grade C fee earner, you need to select that and their location. In the next column, there is a box where you can select the relevant hourly rate. The London rate appears on top and the national rate appears below. The final column of this row is the total amount that you are claiming. The box doesn't auto-calculate, however, the calculation is there for you. So it's 4 times £43.12 per hour, and that gives us a total of £172.48. The next row is in relation to electronic material, so it could be raw data, telephone data, computer download reports. In this example, the grade C has claimed 35 hours for viewing 5,000 pages. They've claimed a rate of £31.03 per hour, and they've tallied up the total at the end. The grade B has also considered 300 pages, and they've spent 2 hours considering those pages. And again, they've selected the grade B London, the hourly rate, and they've tallied that up. The penultimate line of this table, you need to deduct the 3-hour fixed fee from the total hours that you're claiming. So in this case, these hours come to 41 hours. We've deducted the 3 hours and we've got 38. We've also deducted the 3-hour fixed fee and we get our total figure of £1,280.09. In section 4, we have the total monetary value of your claim. So we've just moved this £1,280.09 across to the total net value. If you're VAT registered, you then need to calculate the VAT that's applicable to this case. And then you need to give us your overall total. The next section, section 5, is a document checklist. This document checklist, all the items listed are mandatory for all claims. So for every claim of more than 3 hours unused preparation, you need to provide us with your schedule of unused material and or your disclosure management document. If the prosecution have disclosed material by any other way, so if they've sent you a letter through the post with a disc attached, or they've emailed you with an email attachment, you need to provide that either letter or email documentation showing that the material you're considering is unused. For any claim over 10 hours, it's mandatory that you provide us with either a supporting work log or attendance notes detailing the preparation that you've undertaken. If we move on to section 6, this is the background information and justification. This section is mandatory for any claim where you're claiming more than 30 hours of unused preparation. It's also mandatory if you are claiming for any grade A fee earner time, and it's also mandatory if you're claiming in excess of the guideline rates. We'd also ask that you provide information for any electronic material, any electronic unused material in this section too, but there is a further section on later on where you can provide more detail as to that. In this section, we'd ask that you provide us with really concise detail of the case and the preparation that you've undertaken. Obviously, the larger the claim that you are making, we would expect you to provide more supporting information. In this section, it's really important that you give us the background information to your case. You might have worked on this case for a few weeks or a few months, so you know it inside out. The determinant officer only has this information to make their assessment, so it's really important that you give us the key information that will help us assess your claim. In this section, in this example, I've provided a little bit of detail that we'd expect for a lower value claim. Section 6B is only to be completed where you are claiming for viewing electronic unused material. So in this section, you need to tell us what type of material you're considering. So is it a phone download report? Is it raw data? Is it in-out call data? Is it cell-citing data? If you could tell us exactly what it is, that's what we need. You also need to tell us the format of the material. So was it Excel? Was it PDF? Was it JPEGs? Was it MP4s? Is there any duplication between the material? So quite often the CPS will disclose telephone material in both Excel and PDF format. If that happens, you need to tell us. What approach did you take to the material? Did you use keyword searches? Did you do dip sampling? Or did you take a page-by-page approach?
Okay,
please tell.
This is where you go on.
Okay.
This is where you're literally reading what's already on there, and we're going on a bit. So I'm going to ask you to start from 6B.
Yeah.
Again, give it 5 seconds, but think you've got the example that follows. So just add information that's not written there already.
Okay.
Okay, give it 5 then. I'm coming off again.
Okay. Okay, so section 6B is only to be completed where you're claiming electronic material. In this section, you need to give us some detail as to the type of material you're considering, what format it's in, is there any duplication, are there any keyword searches you've undertaken. In this box here, I've given you an example of the type of information we would require for a lower value claim. Obviously, the higher the value of the claim, the more detailed information we would require. And section 7, we have the hourly rates table. So if you're unsure what the correct hourly rate is, if you come to this section, it details it here for you. So that is the unused preparation form. Once you've completed this form, you need to save a copy of it and submit it along with your request for unused preparation via CCD. Again, you also need to provide the disclosure management document and/or unused schedule. And for claims over 10 hours, you need attendance notes and/or a work log. That is the end of our session today. So I'd like to thank you for taking the time to view it, and I hope it's been helpful.